And there's just something about places where a lot of people find themselves. The bigger the church, the more greed exists. Because greedy people don't usually go for a church with 75 members. They usually go for the ones that have 150 to 500 people. Because there's just more opportunity to make money. And if you look at every church, how transparent are they about the money they get in tithes, donations, what they earn? How transparent are they about their money? And if there's no transparency, they're not getting my money. I try to donate my money to organizations that are not religious. There are reasons for that. I don't want to support institutions that are homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, sexist. And I don't want to fund any MAGA stuff either. And that's my personal opinion. But as long as money exists, people will create more Christian denominations, more religions, more cults to gain money. Because why start a business that's going to be taxed when you can start a church that's not going to be taxed? And some of these televangelists, they make millions of dollars. And it always makes me think of people like Jim Bakker or Jimmy Swaggart. I think Swaggart recently died. And I'm always waiting for them to do something bad. And they never disappoint me. They never do. And some of these greedy people, they give godly counsel to politicians and presidents. That's scary. People of integrity, they don't want to be rich. They'd rather be rich in a different way. If you've ever watched the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the richest man in town isn't the one who owns the bank. It's the one whose friends help them out of a jam, or a man who actually has friends. So yes, the richest man is somebody who has at least one other person they can count on, who is a good friend. I've always been told that if you have at least one friend, you are richer than the majority of CEOs in America. I mean, you're richer than the Facebook founder. He double-crossed all his friends. And greed is always a problem, because greed isn't just a man problem. It's a human problem. I mean, we created the sexist term gold digger to describe women who want to leg up for being a woman. And in my opinion, I don't think gold diggers are bad. Because the way the patriarchy is set up, women almost can't become rich. I mean, there are women who've done it, but men will always have the bigger percentage chance of getting into the million and billionaire club. And I think church supports the idea of being greedy, even though they preach don't be greedy. I've never seen such greed compared to you gotta give money. I mean, telethons. Telethons are fine if they're going to charity, but unless you're saving your church from the roof from collapsing or being foreclosed on, stop asking for money. The Bible has a lot to say about people who pursue money. I mean, a Christmas Carol, a man basically lives his whole life alone because he worships money more than he worships companionship, friendship, and having a family. I find it distasteful for a church to teach about why greed is bad but be the greediest people in town. And why are churches so greedy? Because influential places where men rule is where you're going to find the narcissist. And here's a few ways that churches are considered greedy. Lack of transparency. Religious organizations are not required to file IRS forms, which provide public information about finances and operations. This legal loophole allows them to operate without public scrutiny. Extravagant spending by leadership. Pastors of some megachurches have been criticized for using ministry money to acquire private jets, luxury homes, and other personal assets, while their followers are encouraged to give sacrificially. What about the Lakewood Church? That's, I believe their pastor is Joel Osteen. He's been criticized for the controversial PPP loan. During COVID-19, during the pandemic, Osteen's Houston-based Lakewood Church received and later repaid $4.4 million with the Paycheck Protection Program loan meant for small businesses. Critics argue that the multi-millionaire pastor should not have needed taxpayer funds. Missing donations. In 2021, a plumber at that church found cash and checks in a wallet at the church, which were linked to a $600,000 theft of donations that occurred in 2014. Joel Osteen lives in luxury. His $15 million Houston mansion has been reported to have a net worth of $50 million, a lifestyle critics say is inconsistent with the message of a religious leader. What about Kenneth Copeland and his ministries? Having a private jet fleet. Kenneth Copeland's ministries have been criticized for using ministry money to fund a private jet fleet. Extreme wealth. Copeland has been reported a net worth of $760 million and lives in a $6 million church-owned mansion. What about his questionable tax status? The ministry's numerous businesses and their entities have raised questions about the use of tax-exempt status. What about the World Changers Church International Creflo Dollar? Lavish personal spending. Lack of cooperation with investigators. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Historical examples of financial misconduct. Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, investment scams. I always say it's not enough to want to give a donation. You better make sure the place you're donating doesn't support the worst parts of white supremacy. And people who really want to do good work don't have a fleet of jets. They don't have a $50 million home. People who really want to help, they live like normal people. If a mega church person lives in a luxurious home with a jet, multiple cars, I mean, this is a major red flag. People who live according to the Bible and actually live what Jesus teaches wants nothing to do with being wealthy and having a fleet of jets. There's nothing wrong with being wealthy. It should not come because you're a pastor. If you're independently wealthy or inherited or made it outside of your religion, fine. But becoming a millionaire by being a pastor is unacceptable. Instead of living in a lavish house, do you know how many jobs you could create by using that $50 million to improve the economy? I mean, you could probably create a few thousand jobs instead of living in a house like that. I could understand having a very small jet if you're a CEO or you had a lot of traveling around the world that you do. But not these guys. That's just ridiculous. And if people can't see these con artists for what they are, and religion is a con. I'm not saying there isn't some good churches out there who genuinely care about people. I'm saying you're not going to find leaders who make a lot of money being pastors. They're not going to have integrity because pastors should not be wealthy. And people like Joel Osteen, these people are con artists. People like Jonathan Bell and Benny Hinn, Pat Robertson, John Hagee, Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart. These people were con artists, and several of them are still alive. Some actually went to prison. I mean, any televangelist that blames Hurricane Katrina on black people and the gays is not good people to be donating money to. Because a lot of these people got caught being intimate with hookers and hustlers. And there's nothing wrong with being that. Just don't be a pastor who is a symbol of the nuclear family and does it in secret. And yes, there is a lot of toxic Christianity. And that's why I just don't want to be a part of religion that, in my case, in my opinion, is a mockery of morality. And nobody is as greedy and just awful compared to mega churches.